So we have a quorum. I'd like to start the ABR agenda for today, Monday, March 21st. And first item on the agenda, I believe, without an agenda, is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on an item not on today's agenda? Please come forward. Seeing none, I will close that portion and move on to approval of the minutes for the meeting of Monday, March 7th. Can I have a motion to, made by Clay, seconded by Keith. Do we have any comments to the minutes prior to item 1 or item 1? Item 2. Item 3. I had one comment on item 4. I think that the motion number 2 says provide a final schedule. I think it's supposed to be finished schedule. And item 5. And item 6. I had one comment on item 6, and that was item 7. I think should read, any design changes that reduce the size and footprint for the building are not required to return to ABR. I think it should be, that's not a correct statement, because if the design changes, you have to come back to ABR no matter what. But I think it was meant to state prior to going to show. I think was the intent, not as broad of a statement as not ever coming back to ABR. And that's it. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the consent calendar of March 14th. Can I have a motion by Clay, second by Gary, to approve that consent calendar? Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. For consent last week, March 14th, we had item A, 401.5 Old Coast Highway was postponed indefinitely. Item B, 1600 Anacapa Street, got a final approval as submitted. Item C, 2905 Delavina Street, got a final approval with conditions. Item D, 1014 Coast Village Road was postponed 1 week, and consent last week was reviewed by Keith Rivera and Chris Gilliland.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we have a consent calendar for March 21st. Can somebody make that
So
motion?
moved.
By Clay, second by Gary.
Okay, consent calendar today, March 21st, we had item A, 1950 Cliff Drive, got a project design approval of the, that was project design approval of architecture. They'll have to return with some landscaping. Item B, 301 West Figueroa Street, got a final approval with a condition. And consent today was reviewed by Keith Rivera. Oops, I've got item C, 1014 Coast Village Road was postponed again for 1 week. And consent was reviewed by Keith Rivera.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any announcements?
I have to make an announcement regarding a project at 903 West Mission, which the board gave final approval to on March 7th, 2010. There's a portion of the second story that cantilevers over the required open yard in the southeast corner of the lot, and open yard is required to be unobstructed from the ground up. This was overlooked by staff and would require an additional modification to proceed with that configuration. Just wanted to state that this was brought to the attention of staff by the adjacent neighbor, and it was missed by, staff. We just didn't see it. So the applicant has responded quickly and appropriately and is working to resolve the issue without requiring another modification. And this project will, so we're basically stating that the final approval is void and so is the preliminary approval. And the applicant will return with a revised design, and we'll ask for project design approval and final approval when they return.
Okay. I have a question about that.
Yes.
So does that mean just for future reference, is it the cantilever of the second level or the fact that it are all overhangs now not considered part of the open yard? In other words, should an applicant be configuring their open yard outside of from the overhang line down now?
It depends. There are areas, there's a section in the zoning ordinance that states second stories can cantilever over open yard, but it's only for non-habitable space.
So that would be like an overhang of a roof.
Yes, like a balcony or
Or
a trellis
I
or
understand.
structural projection, but not, this was actually floor area.
Floor area. I get it. Okay. Any more
Madam
announcements?
Chair, there's also an exception in the R3 zone that allows you to do habitable,
Oh, okay.
but in the R2 zone it's not allowed.
Okay. Okay. Gary, did you want to say something?
I was under the impression that if it was over a certain height, if it was over 7 foot, that it was a tough.
It's 7 feet, and that's in the R3 zoning that you can do that, or in a commercial zone that has residential component.
And there's a specific exemption for R2 on that?
R2 doesn't have the exception. The other zones do.
And R1 probably doesn't have the exception either.
Okay.
Okay.
I wasn't familiar with that.
Great. We have consistency. Zoning ordinance. Okay. Is that all the announcements, Tony?
No, we have some more announcements.
Okay.
We have a change to the agenda. Item 1, 336 North Milpa Street. There was a review after final for Fresh and Easy. They've requested to be postponed 2 weeks. They weren't ready with the changes to try to address the ABR's comments. Chris Gilliland will be absent today, and Paul Zink will be absent today, and Chris Manson-Hing will arrive sometime later in the meeting.
Okay. And I had one announcement that I have to step down for item 4.
Okay. So if Chris Manson-Hing is here by then we'll still have a quorum on that.
Is it possible for you to speak up? It's very hard to hear.
I can talk louder.
Let's see, I have one more announcement. Paul Zink asked me to announce he attended the Planning Commission meeting for the Highway 101 Salinas Ranch project last Thursday, and he just asked me to report that the Planning Commission approved that coastal permit. The project will have to return back for ABR approval, so if you all would review the meeting video of that Planning Commission hearing, it would be helpful, because I think in their deliberations, they gave some direction for the project when it returns to the ABR.
Okay.
So that's available via the city website. And that's all I have for announcements.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Subcommittee reports. Aside from the 101 issue. None. Okay, so that takes us to our new item number 1, which is 29 North Milpa Street.
Howdy.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
She's the braid video.
3 sets of
Can you hit that button right next to your,
That way?
in the middle, in the middle of the, yeah, right there, and then yours as well. Yep.
So I think we're getting there here.
All right.
I hope.
can you just have
So your names for the record.
okay, my name is Cherry Protasio with Shipman Design Architects.
David Peterson with McDonald's. Locally.
Right.
Okay, we have here actually 3 options. One is a shoebox shoebox type of fixture, and
This one here?
yes, and it'll have.
You know what, it might be better if are you going to be doing the presentation?
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be better if you sat here and pointed to the camera. Sorry, Dave.
Okay, so it's actually 3 options, but the same exact location of the fixtures.
Okay.
Which is if this is McDonald's, Milpas is here, and it's going to be here and here, mounted at 14 feet high. And this fixture has this. It also will, elevation-wise, it's going to look like this the shoebox type. It's mounted at 14 feet. And then the other one, this one is the photometric, which I've actually also showed Tony Bauman, and then he said that the photometrics looked okay. So
You had other options too, right?
yeah, the other options would be a little bit more decorative, which is there are 2 types from the same manufacturer. It's the it would be either the Odin or the Monterey style. Oh, this is the Odin. This is the Monterey style, and it's also wall mounted.
Okay. What does that look like mounted to the wall? Because it's just showing the post.
It would look like something like this.
Okay.
So they have different options of either mounting it on from a
Okay.
pole or wall mounted.
And are you proposing any other lighting? Because I noticed you had these 3 fixtures. Are those existing lights?
Yes.
So it's the only ones you're proposing are these 2 in all
Yep.
3 options.
Yep.
Yes.
Does everybody understand that? There's only 2 lighting fixtures proposed on all 3 options. It's just a different fixture. They're all wall mounted.
We're losing the, 4 that we have, the big ones, and then just doing the 2.
Doing 2. They're on the building. They're proposed to be on the building, and no new lighting in the parking lot is proposed.
So there's no pole.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. No new poles. Yes.
Those are existing that we don't need to review. Apparently. Right,
Yes,
Tony?
but they have been figured into the photometric.
Right, I understand. I can see that.
Do you have a photo of the existing lighting in the parking lot? Do we know what it is? It the shoebox type?
It's actually, it's not the shoebox. It's more
Something
like
else?
it's more like the it's like more streamlined, but it's not the shoebox.
Tony, do we have photos?
So those are along, like Sherwin, those are along that side? I don't think what they look like.
While he's looking for those, is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment on this item? So, and do we have any letters or anything? No? Okay, so I'll close public comment and bring it back to the board for questions. Go ahead, Gary.
Thanks, Tom. I'm looking through this. Which particular arm or mounting are you proposing? There's 2 different ones, and on each one, which we have several options here. Which particular mounting bracket are you going to use?
We are actually proposing the VA 110-WM, which would be on page 79.
The 2-fixture one, or the S1?
Oh, the WM. That stands for wall mounted.
Can we see that? that under the camera.
Oh,
here.
sure.
Let's just try that.
Okay.
So it's
It's this one.
this one. Okay. And it's either that one
And that's
or
with either fixture?
Yes.
what was the other fixture you had? There's this one, and then where's the other one?
The other one.
The shoebox in this one, and where's the third one?
Right here.
Right there. Okay, let's keep all these out.
Okay. That one, and the other one is would be
The shoebox, which we
yeah.
somewhere in here. Okay, more questions?
What's the proposed finish on the actual fixture?
We were thinking for it to match the color of the. If it's this one, only comes in the bronze, and then the other one comes with like a tan color. So it would be something that would closely match the exterior of the building.
This one? And these two would match the color of the building?
Yeah. The other one is like a darker bronze. It depends on what we choose with the fixture. The other fixture has a tan color that comes with it.
The shoebox.
No,
No.
the shoebox will just be also to match existing, like a tan color that we have.
Questions, Clay?
Is this the one you're proposing as an option? This fixture?
Yes.
With the same housing? Because there's 6 different housings, 7 different caps, and 9 different colors. We're just trying to get a sense of what you're actually proposing. You have it on there.
It would be the C5
Okay.
for cap, and then the housing would be H5. Actually, I was thinking out of all the 6, that the most that would probably be a lot historical looking would maybe be H5.
Okay.
Can you
Allah.
put that down here?
Yes.
So we have the cap number 5, housing number 5, with the arm shown in that photo, right? Is that the right arm?
Yes. Oh, no, yeah, that's the right arm. It's the VA-110.
And then the finishes down below, we have bronze, black, white, sandstone, weathered brown, silver metallic, verdigris, forest green, and custom.
Yeah, this one would be bronze.
We're not sure yet on the color. Is that?
Well,
You could ask
They
the
don't
board for
have-
direction, but I'm just curious.
we were thinking the one that matches most the exterior, but with this line, they only have the bronze that I would think would be the closest.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Unless we actually need custom version.
Bronze is what you're proposing. Okay. Okay. Chris, do you have any questions? Okay. Did you get brought up to speed? They're proposing 2 lighting fixtures on the corner of the building, and then there's 3 options. Okay. Okay, comments from the board. Anybody want to start?
I'll start. I'm okay with the lighting locations, and the 2 lighting locations, they sounds reasonable to me. The shoebox one I don't feel fits the architecture, so that was something that I really wouldn't be really fancy. And to be honest with you, even the bracket mounting choice and the light fixture choice, it just seems to me like it's a pole light, and it doesn't seem very it doesn't seem much to me like it's a building light fixture. So I kind of wish that there was some other options, but if we're solely to go by the options that are brought before us, I would say that I'm more in favor of the Monterey series and the bracket that they propose, the VA 110WM would be good, and I would say that we'd want to see that in a black finish. That would be my.
All right. Is that it, Gary? Okay. Clay? Nothing different?
Yeah, I would agree. Maybe the bronze, since the window sash on the building is a bronze anodized.
And the Monterey as well, you agree with Gary? Do you have any comments, Chris?
Any color samples of the available colors or anything? I mean,
What is the light fixture that's on the wall? What color is that?
Looks like bronze.
There's an existing.
Looks like bronze with frosted glass.
Is it bronze?
It looks like it is. And it looks like the storefront's bronze.
Okay. Yeah.
It appears to be.
assuming that the bronze finish is bronze.
Have you guys with the location of where it is located on the arch of the?
They didn't really graphically draw that yet. They just drew the shoebox.
No, they did.
Oh, they did it on the other options.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see that. Did you see that? Okay. What about you, Chris?
I likewise think that it should be the bronze color, like with the others. And likewise, I think that this one preferably over the box light. And it would have been good to see another of that type. But I think I'm all right with that if we had to.
All right. I don't have anything additional to add. I kind of agree. I like the Monterey the best out of all of them and the bronze color. So, would anybody like to make a motion? Would probably be a motion for final approval of the lighting that's submitted in option Monterey series wall mounted.
I'll make that motion, Madam Chair. So this would be final approval. The Monterey style is indicated with a bronze finish.
In the wall mounted.
Wall
In the
mounted.
wall mounted. All right, we have a motion. Somebody like to second the motion? Clay? Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
How long does that, what's the time? Is it something you have to do within?
Ask Tony. And I think you have to follow up with a building permit for the mounting and have a general contractor pull the permit, I believe.
Just my stuff?
Okay. No, go ahead. Go ahead. No, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Did you want these?
Yes, we want to keep one. We'll just keep one of everything, even though that's the one we're approving. So, thank you. So we have item 3, Lower West Downtown Lighting Project. By the City of Santa Barbara. Are they here? You're not here. Oh, they are here.
Two of us are here. We're waiting for John Wozniak, but we can get set up.
Okay. We'll just take a short recess while we're waiting for John Wozniak. Have everybody's attention, please. We're going to restart the meeting. Thank you. So we'll reconvene the Architectural Board review with item number 3, which is the Lower West Downtown Lighting Project. Your names for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is John Iwasiak, Principal Civil Engineer for the Public Works Department, and with me is Patrick Shanahan, the Facilities Maintenance Supervising Engineer, and Jim Dewey, Facilities Maintenance and Energy Manager for the Public Works Department. And we're here today to talk to you about the West Downtown project. It's an exciting project because it involves a lot of street lighting and pedestrian lighting. You may recall that we have had a couple recent projects with regards to improved lighting in neighborhoods, one being on the Ortega Street corridor and also on the Anapamu Street corridor. And Ortega Street is one of the boundaries of this project. The total project is got 3 phases, and it's because of the funding. The funding is only available for phase 1. The 3 phases are color-coded as shown in the plan. And we've also shown what work has been completed in the area, being the Ortega Street corridor with street lighting and pedestrian lighting improvements, and also lighting improvements on the Brinkerhoff project, Brinkerhoff Avenue project. And so today we are here to talk about street lighting and pedestrian lighting in the West Downtown neighborhood. And so this project would replace the existing street lights and add new street lights and pedestrian lights. It's been a long-standing request by the public in the neighborhood to improve neighborhood lighting. And again, as I mentioned, funding restrictions just allow us to construct one phase of this. But at this time, all phases are being designed because of the circuitry and the engineering that's required. We have the ability to design the entire project now with existing funds, but construct only phase 1. So I'd like to take you as a little bit of background, real brief, which would be the streetlight design guidelines. And this project is in conformance with the streetlight design guidelines. Back in the year 2005, Council formally established an ad hoc committee, being the City Streetlight Design Guidelines Advisory Group, and it consisted of members of the Planning Commission, the Transportation Circulation Committee, the Historic Landmarks Commission, this ABR, and also had 2 public works managers. I was one of them, and Mike Grimes, and then Jim Dewey was the other public works manager. And so in 2009, the council adopted the recommended outdoor lighting and streetlight design guidelines. And I have a packet of that information right here. It is available online at our engineering website at www.santabarbaraca.gov/engineering. And you can find the packet of information with regards to outdoor lighting and streetlight design guidelines. And so the guidelines included the following highlights: that light pollution be minimized, that streetlights have a consistent theme, and that Cobra head fixture will be phased out over time. And to maximize improvements in aesthetics, functionality, energy efficiency, and cost-effective maintenance. And these are all elements that we've considered in the design of this project. And to enhance safety and security for pedestrians, very important to the community. So recently we've had those beautification projects that I mentioned on the Ortega and Anapamu corridors and Brinkerhoff, but we also had in 2007 the Milpa Street beautification project, which included street lights and pedestrian lights. And so we've also done some improvements on the Montecito Street corridor between Milpas and the Franklin Library. And there we've had spacing of lighting, which we thought was appropriate for the lower pedestrian corridors, as opposed to the more intense lighting in the Ortega Street corridor, which is a primary corridor where pedestrian overpass over the 101 and pedestrians leading into the downtown core with the Ortega and the Anapamu Street lighting. And I have to report, or I'd like to report, that we've had nothing but positive comments from the neighborhood and from the public on all of our pedestrian lighting improvement projects. And I believe that we've struck a balance between the lighting that is desirable and to achieve the goals of the streetlight design guidelines. And so with that, I'd like to have Patrick tell you more about the project specific.
Okay. Like John had mentioned, the project is divided up into 3 phases, and the first page of our submittal shows that the orange is Ortega Street and Chapala Street are the boundaries. For Phase 1, we're talking about the green area, which is Haley Street, Cottage Grove, Gutierrez, and then parts of Bath and Delavino. So we're essentially talking about a very small pie slice with Haley and Chapala as the boundaries. If we go to the second page. The second page is more detail on Phase 1, and it shows the placement of the streetlights. And what this project is, when we talk about streetlights and pedestrian lights, is this project will place 2 streetlights at every intersection and 1 streetlight at the mid-block. And you can see that by the larger fixture that's light green in color. The smaller fixture that's dark green in color, those are the pedestrian lights. Those are the smaller scale lights that hang out over the sidewalk to illuminate the sidewalk and provide more illumination in the walkway. Also on here you'll see some yellow lights. Those are existing lights. We included those, even though they're not in the project, we included those on this drawing so you could see what other lighting is in the area. Now, what we basically used 2 bases of design when we looked at this area. We took Haley Street, recognizing it as a primary pedestrian corridor, and we are planning to install more pedestrian lighting on Haley Street as opposed to the rest of the area. Now, as John had talked about with Ortega Street and Anna Pamu Street, those improvements, Haley Street will model those with the number of lights. There will be lights at the intersection, a light on the mid-block, and 4 pedestrian lights on each side of the street to illuminate the sidewalk. And the rest of the area will be modeled more closely after what John had talked about, which was installed along Montecito Street on the east side, where in addition to the intersection lights and the mid-block, you'll have only 5 pedestrian lights. We thought that was more appropriate because these are not primary pedestrian corridors, so they don't need as much illumination on the sidewalks. Now, on our third page of the submittal, well, okay, great. I thought we had photos of the Photoshop drawings of the streetlights to be installed, but I guess that didn't make the submittal bunch, unless somebody... No.
It looks like the page...
Oh.
You have a set play. We don't have it. Or it's the next one? No?
Here, let's... Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay, and then so this one, I apologize that we had a little binding error. These photos show what the lights would look like in the installed case. You can see this is going to be the street light as it looks out over the street, and these smaller ones are the pedestrian lights as they look out over the sidewalks. All of the lights proposed meet the new city standard for street lights. It's the fluted Amaron pole and the green Domus fixture with the green mast arm. The only difference between the two is, like I said, the pedestrian lights are on a smaller scale, and they look out, or the light goes out over the sidewalk. When we, during the design, we began investigating new technologies to use. As you all know, LED lights have really improved over the years, not only in their performance but also in their cost and their efficiencies. And as a result, that's brought the payback way down to a point where we think it's economically feasible to go with LED lights over the high-pressure sodium that's been installed throughout the city. We have additional documentation, but I'd like to turn over to Jim Dewey to talk about the advantages of the LED lights and what they offer over high-pressure sodium.
First of all, let me just show you what the high-pressure sodium light looks like. And this is the Lumic Domus fixture, which is our city standard. So. It takes a little while for a high-pressure sodium lamp to put out its full light output, so I won't be turning this on. But as you can see, that this is the typical light that would be used on our A and B poles, which would be 25 to 30 feet in the air. And the way that the light is distributed, you have this wide light source, and of course you're using a reflector to distribute the light. And the disadvantages of this are that you can't really direct the light where it needs to go. Usually what you have is a pooling of light right underneath the light itself, and then the light kind of diminishes as it gets out to the peripheral parts. So this slide also puts out, it has a color rendering index of about 22, which means you can't really tell what colors cars are, or you can't really identify colors very well at all. This is the same Lumic Domus fixture. Of course, in our cases, this would be Malaga green. This is a pedestrian fixture, so it's a lot smaller. But you can see the LED light engine in here. The advantage of an LED light engine is that these are very small points of light, and they have each one of these LEDs has a lens on it, which directs it exactly where it needs to go. So instead of pooling right underneath the light, you'll have an equal distribution for as far as this light is intended to, light up an area. Another thing about it is that it has a color rendering index of about 75, which means that it's very close to the kind of light that the sun would produce. So you can tell the differences between, vehicles, and it renders colors pretty well. Let me plug this thing in so you can kind of take a look at that.
Let's shine it at Keith and see how it works.
I think I'll shine it maybe against that wall.
Let me get my sunglasses on.
So you can't really tell in here with the lights on, that basically it just gives you an idea about, what we're looking at here. And so it puts out a wider light. The high pressure sodium light puts out kind of a golden light. Yeah. So kind of gives you an idea. You can kind of see the more equal light distribution too from this. So just gives you a little bit of idea how this thing is going to work. Now, the two biggest advantages of the LEDs are in the area of maintenance and energy efficiency. So basically with a LED light engine, and this is typical of the LED light engine, this thing will operate from 50,000 to 100,000 hours without any maintenance. So typically, we could get as much as 20 or 30 years out of this without having to go up and visit it with a bucket truck and do any maintenance on it. The other advantage is that this uses about half of the energy that a high-pressure sodium fixture would use. So there's a big energy savings with that, too. So when you combine both of those, the operating cost of operating LEDs is much less than high-pressure sodium. So that's one of the drivers with this. We think that this technology is really going to be what is going to take over the street light industry. So for a lot of reasons. So.
Okay. Also included in your packet in the submittals, when Jim was talking about the color rendering index over at the Franklin Center on Montecito Street, we retrofitted 2 existing street lights with the LED light engine that Jim has shown. And I think you can really see the difference in the quality of light, specifically the color rendering index. Where here with the high-pressure sodium, everything is really yellow. Whereas if you look at the LED, you can actually discern colors. You can even you can see the red the red curve and the yellow crosswalk. Whereas you don't really see that with the high-pressure sodium. Not only do you get the better energy efficiency with the LED, but you get more usable light that your eye can actually see and use and discern, anything in your path. And then the final submittal we have for you, we calculated out the photometric plots of both the technologies. LEDs on top, high pressure sodium is on the bottom, and provided some calculations basically on the cost differential. And the energy reductions for over high pressure sodium for this sample block is 30%. And when you include maintenance costs in the payback, that's the city will start to see a savings in just under 3 years. So it's that's excluding the maintenance costs. Yeah. Yeah, and like Jim mentioned, that's the big driver here is the ability that light engine will last you 50,000 hours versus maybe 20,000 if you're lucky with high pressure sodium light.
Okay.
That concludes our presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions, and very anxious to hear the comments from.
All right. First, we're going to take public comment. We have several speakers. We have our first speaker, Sharon Byrne, followed by Tony Vasallo.
Hi. Do you mind turning the diagram back to where you can see the lights on the street, where they're going to be placed on the street? Yeah, the street plan. Sharon Byrne.
You need to come up here, Sharon.
Point.
So you want me to do it out here? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
You can just point to this.
Right here. I'm a resident of the West Downtown neighborhood, and the city presentation was extremely professional, and I'm really tickled to get our first look at the lights. But I need to let you know why the neighborhood why this project became a priority for this neighborhood. In 2009, right here, a boy was murdered. And he lay here all night long, and a lot of pedestrians walked by him in this neighborhood and never knew that he'd been stabbed. We all thought it was a drunk that fell asleep here. We didn't discover it until daylight, and maybe we could have saved his life, I don't know. He was attacked by a gang. There was a shooting here in December of 2008. This street last week got extremely heavily tagged right where the lights would be going. One of the things that police advised us when we started pulling together our neighborhood and really coming together as a group is they said, you've got to get lighting in here. There's a lot of dark holes here. We can't see. You can't see. This is what creates crime. It was us pulling together as a neighborhood. We applied for the CDBG grant to get the lighting design approved, and we pushed it through our city council and through the city to try to get this done. But I wanted to let you know that one of the reasons that it is really important for this neighborhood to have these lights, why it's a priority project, is because the neighborhood has suffered a lot of crime in recent years. So this would be a real gift to us in terms of making a lot safer in our neighborhood at night. And it is you can probably imagine the bar district is right here. There's a lot of heavy foot traffic that's going back and forth here late at night, and this is usually when we experience problems and graffiti. So this would help us a lot. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Tony, followed by Wanda Livernoy.
Hi, I'm Tony Vasallo. I live on Brinkerhoff. My wife and I live on Brinkerhoff. I'm speaking as a new member of the Neighborhood Advisory Council that the City Council just set up. We haven't had our first meeting yet, so I can't speak for the council, but I can speak as a member of that group. And I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate this project, and I'm glad it's coming to fruition because I think I think it's a lot more than just a street lighting project. I actually believe that this street lighting plan will begin to transform this section of the city in a very, very positive way. The lighting on Brinkerhoff has made a huge difference in the perception of safety at night, and that's, as you know, one small block. And this will, the addition of these other blocks will just make, I think, a very positive contribution to the neighborhood. I believe it will lead to many improvements by private property owners who will begin to see this neighborhood in a completely different light, shall I say. So I just wanted to thank the city for all the work they're doing to bring it forward. I know we've worked hard at the neighborhood level to do what we can, and we're willing to do a lot more as time goes on, and I hope we can look forward to Phase 2 and Phase 3 in the not-too-distant future. Thank you.
Thank you. And following Wanda is Callum DeForest.
Hi. Wanda Livernoy, 533 Brinkerhoff. I want you to be aware of two different things on these lights. And it's not the kind of expertise that I have, but it's the kind of expertise all of you have. I want you to look at these lights and think of how they are going to look in 5 years. I want you to make them graffiti-proof, if at all possible, because we get a lot of graffiti. That's number one. Number two, do your best to make them vandalism-proof. There are so many light stanchions on Chapala Street where parts of them have been taken off. I don't know what the heck they do with them. I mean, you know, they're just gone. But that does not help the look of the neighborhood. Take a look at the lights on Carrillo Street, right outside Ralph's. Tremendous amount of graffiti and scratching and this, that, and the other thing. Think of really making these graffiti and vandalism proof. Okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Wanda.
Thanks.
Callum?
Good afternoon. These street lamps would be a great improvement for the neighborhood. My question revolves around the aesthetics. Both of the poles, the applicant, the city hasn't indicated what the poles are going to look like, and it would be my opinion they should be as inobtrusive as possible. And also, are we going to have what material is that? Is that concrete?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think unless there's a huge cost factor, I would think a metal as inobtrusive metal pole would be better, because this along with the power poles that are in the neighborhood and the signage, this is going to produce a forest of street furniture. You won't be able to. There'll be so many poles and street signs that you'll hardly be able to see the houses. So please consider the design of the poles and keep down the number of vertical things that are in a block. Thank you.
Thanks, Callum.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment, Tony? Did everybody speak who wanted to speak?
One other comment. Because I walked by Cottage Grove today, that park strip is like...
You need to speak into the mic.
Okay. I walked by Cottage Grove today, like I do from time to time, and the park strip is 3.5 feet. You know, if you're going to put a tree every so often, it just gets awfully tight. So just be aware of that.
Okay. Thank you. So I'll bring it back to the board for questions. Gary?
Thanks, Madam Chair. A couple of questions. The wiring for this is all going to be underground wiring?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and the second question is there going to be cabinet furniture that's going to be involved with this? Is there going to be meter posts or
No, we're tying into an existing meter pedestal.
Mhm.
So the only thing above ground that will be installed are the lights.
Are just the lights?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question. The other question I had, you answered about the hours between the HPS lights and the LED.
Okay. Questions? Any more?
Madam Chair, a quick question.
Chris?
Are the poles treated for, that anti-graffiti or easy to clean
Yes.
surface that I know the city uses on some locations?
Yes, they will come from the factory like that.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Madam Chair, can you actually clarify for me what the materials are
In
on
the
the poles?
they're a concrete pole.
The concrete pole,
Yes.
fluted, and are they color or are they natural?
Natural.
Or natural. Okay. I had another question. Is this the same lighting that was installed along Ortega?
Yes.
And Brinkerhoff?
One clarification.
Barring the LED portion of it?
Aside from the LED, yes, this is the same poles and the same housing of the light fixture and the arms as on the Ortega corridor. The Brinkerhoff is a different pole. It's a metal pole, and that was the choice of the Historic Landmarks Commission to use metal poles. When the design guides were being developed and approved, the ABR at that time selected the concrete poles to be the poles of choice, gray concrete poles, but fluted for new streetlights and pedlights.
That's it. Thanks.
Any questions, Steve? I had one question regarding that. Because we were all, I don't know if everybody was, I know I was involved in that selection of that concrete pole. What has been your experience so far in using the concrete pole in as far as maintenance and graffiti? You were talking about a pre-treatment that goes on for anti-graffiti, but I can't imagine that would really do a lot for, what does that do?
It makes it easier to remove.
Makes it easier to
basically
remove.
seals it, so it makes it easier to remove.
And it works pretty well.
Yes.
You've had a lot of graffiti on some of these concrete fluted poles, and it's been easy to remove the graffiti.
Yes, it has. And we also go through the older style, the octagonal style poles, and treat those. Yeah, with an aftermarket product.
Any more
Madam Chair,
questions?
one quick question. You say that the original approval was for the fluted version, and we've moved away from the fluted, and I'm just asking why, and was that a...
No, I'm not saying that we've moved away from the fluted. The fluted still is the city standard for new concrete Marble 8 streetlights.
Oh, I see.
And it's what's being proposed in this project as well.
Oh, this is fluted.
Yeah.
This project is fluted.
Oh, okay.
I may have confused you when I talked about the Brinkerhoff project. That street lighting project was not a concrete fluted pole. That was a metal pole.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks.
I have one more question on these, and it's been a long time since we reviewed the street lighting. So, and the base on these fluted poles, are they metal?
No, they are concrete too.
They're concrete, and all they have is a pull box on them to access.
Yeah, like a handhold. Yes.
Okay. Good.
Okay, comments? Is anybody ready to start? Go ahead, Gary.
I think it's a fantastic project. It's going to upgrade the neighborhood. I know it really did a lot for Ortega Street. Walking down Ortega Street makes a big difference. So it's all positive. I'm glad that there's not any more cabinet furniture proposed. The only thing I see with this first stage program that I find that there may be a little problem with is this one intersection right here. I notice that we don't have any higher lights in this area right here, and I kind of feel that's a dangerous intersection for pedestrians and bicycles, especially right here at this island where you only have one pedestrian light. And I don't know what the existing lights are offhand, what the existing street lights are here, and I see in both proposals, even in the Phase 2 proposals, you didn't address that intersection. So I do see that there's some pedestrian lights here, and I would think that the island one should be either upgraded to a larger 33-foot pole, or some, bring some lighting down here to this corner where it drops down in elevation, and this is a very dangerous part. Both bicycles are crossing at that intersection, and people are crossing at that intersection. So just study that. My suggestion would be to study that so we can perhaps get some better lighting at that area.
Thanks, Gary. Anybody else ready?
I have a quick question, comment. I like Gary. I think that I think it's a wonderful project. I'm really happy that it, we're starting on it, and I think everything that you guys have presented is very positive. So my only question is that I know that these are street lights that are existing already and probably not part of your particular project. Is that it?
They are being installed with the bridge replacement project.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that, I think that on that bridge design that we did here, or the walkway, it was a pretty, I wouldn't use the word elaborate, but it was a well thought out pedestrian crossing system, just to make sure that all the poles are located, wisely in that regard. And then the only question is that I noticed this gap here, whereas off of here you have one light and one light, but there's a gap right here where the bridge comes across, and is that a conscious effort on your part not to light the bridged area?
Well, we couldn't actually put one here because that would have been installed in the middle of the bridge deck.
I see, right.
So the nearest spot we could put it is basically right here, and we already have one right there, but we could move that one over a little bit to balance it out.
Yeah, I would
Otherwise,
think that might be an idea that you might want to consider, is maybe stretching these out across these, from here and here, and stretch these over a little so that you could capture a little bit more of that bridge. That'd be great. Thanks. That's it, Madam Chair.
All right. Clay?
I just had a couple of comments along those lines. I understand that from your legend here that all these Cobra lights are being removed, correct?
Correct, yes.
The poles are remaining.
The poles are remaining, but the lights will come off.
I just, I was kind of looking at the proximity of these two lights and that there was nothing on this side. I was wondering if maybe you could jump over here and have that one at the corner. I saw this as sort of a dark zone glaring at me. I kind of saw this as a dark zone, and this is a dark zone, especially this kind of alley entrance. So I, along with everybody else here, think this is a great project. I wouldn't want it to see it all get done and then have some real glaring deficiencies like that. So I appreciate you guys coming back with either studying the photometrics to make sure that it's working fine, or adding additional lighting is necessary.
And with that and that, maybe one gets...
Keith?
Yeah, I agree with all the previous comments. I think Clay has some good points about just making sure that there's no dark spots. But other than that, you're providing safer streets, better quality light for less money and energy. So it's a really great project.
Could I just add a comment on the dark spot issue, which is the Ortega and Haley designs really don't have dark spots. You can look down those corridors currently down Ortega and see for blocks if someone is coming down the street, which is the intent of that style or intensity of lighting, or pattern of lighting. And so the other street lighting, aside from those major corridors, will have... I didn't want to give you the impression that there'll be no dark spots, but the Montecito style of lighting does have some intermittent areas where, if you want to call it dark spot, does have dark spots, but it is what staff believes as an appropriate level of lighting for the neighborhood for those non-primary pedestrian corridors. So I didn't want you to have the impression there won't be dark spots, but what I'm saying is that we've strategically placed the lighting so as to minimize those impacts, so as to avoid over-illuminating. We didn't see that it was prudent to have the Ortega-style lighting on every street in this whole neighborhood. And so it's a balance between appropriate lighting and feel and safety. And from the comments that we've received from the neighbors and from the public so far, we believe this is the appropriate style of lighting for the neighborhood. So just want to make sure that we are clear on that dark spot issue.
Madam Chair, I think I think we all can agree that you're going to have dark spots to some degree. I was kind of pointing out a couple obvious ones. I think the rest of the plan looks good. I'd also like to comment on the LED, which I think is a very good direction to move this lighting. I think it just makes sense all the way around. So nobody said anything about LED, so I thought I would.
Yeah, I agree, and I see what you're saying, John. I agree with Clay, though, in a couple of areas. This one hit me, and so did this one, and even right here. And I looked at the photometrics, and I did see the dark spots, and I'm okay. But I don't necessarily think this is a Montecito type of a situation. I think it's a little more susceptible to crime. So maybe not quite as many dark spots as Montecito standards. So I think that's maybe what everybody's saying, and I too completely agree with the LED. Maybe it'll stop that. Every time I go under a street light, it turns off. Why is that?
when a HID, a high intensity discharge light like metal halide or high pressure sodium, when it comes to the end of its life, the light itself can't maintain its internal heat, so it has a device that tries to, it will disconnect the light and then try to restrike. So really it's this is something that's good for the public to know too. If you see a light that is cycling like that, it means that it's come to the end of its life and that you need to call that problem into building maintenance, to the streetlight hotline. And it just means that it's at the end of its life and needs maintenance.
I'll remember that next time. I just thought it was me.
Can I offer something about the dark spot?
Actually, we're kind of done with public comment, but if you want to say something really, really quick, you're going to have to walk all the way around here and come up to the microphone again.
I will. A couple of things about the dark spot phenomenon. By the way, I still think the city did a really good job here. There's a street light, actually. One of the dark spots that was pointed out was right here. Okay, I live there. That's already lit.
It's
not
going
a
to be
dark
gone
spot.
now.
Okay, but this is not a heavy pedestrian corridor. This part
No,
is.
it's a parking lot, though, with a lot of cars and just a chain link fence that people could get over in the middle of the night.
But they don't. I'm just telling you now, I live right here. I watch this all the time. They don't. Second thing is, this is an off-ramp from the highway. It's not a pedestrian area. So a dark spot here is not necessarily a problem for us. It hasn't been. Here, this is good pointing out up here that this little place is a little bit dark. On Bass Street, the residences here butt right on to pretty much the sidewalk. So if you put, I'm not kidding, they have no front yard. They really abut the sidewalk. So if you put a bunch of lighting right in here, it'll be shining right in, literally a couple of feet from them.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Thanks. Any more comment? So this is a comment-only project. It would be an indefinite continuance motion. Would anybody like to make a motion with comments? Anybody? I guess then I would...
Madam Chair, one
Yeah.
question for the board would be, do you want this to return to the full board or on the consent calendar?
I think it, I don't know, I'm speaking for the board when I say it could probably be ready for the consent. I'm hearing positive comments and just some manipulation of a couple of areas and finalizing the exact locations. Is that okay with everybody?
Consent, yeah.
Okay, another question would be when phases 2 and 3 return for ABR review, would you want those to come to the full board or send those to the consent calendar?
What does the board think about that? Consent?
I don't know.
I think it's
Full
a good
board.
idea to come before the board for
Yeah.
us to review what's happening and then move it on to consent. I don't think it's
Yeah,
too much.
and it doesn't have to be a full presentation. So, we're used to it, we know the program, and so it could be an abbreviated presentation, and then we just see it and then send it on to consent. We'd be happy to do it.
Okay.
Agreed. Madam Chair, I'll take a stab at a motion. Continued indefinitely to the consent calendar for final approval. The board is appreciative of the lighting design or the lighting upgrades for this neighborhood. Finds the style of light appropriate and acceptable. The board appreciates the use of LED lighting for its energy efficiency. And the board will request the applicant to study the De La Vina, east side of De La Vina at the corner of the alley for potential light addition or relocation, and any other areas that seem like they could use lighting and provide photometrics for every street.
Okay, we have a motion. Somebody like to second that motion?
Second motion.
Okay, Keith. Any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
I have to sit down for this item. So
Okay.
I think I might, since there's only one more,
Okay.
I might just leave.
Okay.
You guys have a forum. I'm going to ask Tony. Is that all right with everybody?
A larger one. Yeah, like I said, this is a scary.
Don's taking off. Bad enough.
Okay, so we have
The fourth item of the evening, 602 Anacapa Street. Hi Trish.
Chair.
How are you doing? How are you doing?
My architect is en route. I don't know if we should get started or take the
How
item.
you think he's imminently going to be here?
He
Or
said he was a couple blocks away and he was on his way. How long ago was that? 10 minutes ago.
would you like us to take the other one before you? Or?
Not if it's fast, sure, but not necessarily.
We can't.
Oh, so we can give you an introduction and he should be here
Okay,
shortly.
that'd be fine.
It just left him 10 minutes ago.
Transportation started at 179.
Well, it's a good thing there's not a lot of board membership this No, I did it on Saturday.
Thanks, Tony.
I'll sit over here. Yeah, he'll sit in the middle, exactly. And I was thinking about him, oh, he's off on the street. Sometimes I can get it out of the way.
Saturday.
And I was like, well, it's not going to rain on Saturday. It might be a better day for me to be shopping. Oh, no.
Okay, you could just state your name and proceed with the presentation. State your name for the record.
My name's Bob Kupiak with Kupiak Architects, and I'm the architect for Antioch University.
Trish Allen with Suzanne Elledge, Planning and Permitting.
Nancy Leffert, Nancy Leffert, I'm the president of Antioch University, Santa Barbara.
Great,
We
proceed.
wanted to start out with an introduction from Nancy.
I just want to take a minute to say that I'm the new president of Antioch, Santa Barbara. I've been president since July 1st. And when we first realized that we have grown out of our building at 801 Garden Street, our board of trustees and I felt very strongly that we wanted to stay in downtown Santa Barbara. And we've had the great good fortune to have a partnership with the Hutton Parker Foundation, who have purchased the building at the corner of Anacapa and Coda Street, depending on what day it is. People use different addresses. I've been using 610 Anacapa, but I think sometimes it's different because it's a range, 602 to 612, I believe. Anyway, they have purchased that building and they are leasing it back to us for 10 years with an option to purchase the building from them at 5 and 10 years. And we're very excited about it. I think it's going to add tremendous vitality to us as a campus, but also I think to the downtown corridor, being one block off of State Street at the corner of Coda, a building that has, as you know, the first floor has not had anything in it for a few years. So we're very excited about this project.
We are too.
Okay.
We've all been working together on trying to prepare a plan for the university to move into this building. It has triggered a few things in terms of changes to the building that we think are important in order to adapt the building for its new use as an educational facility. And predominantly in the reconfiguring of the ground floor of the building, which will also include a mezzanine level for library facilities that will be part of the college. They're a single-use user now. So in fact, what we propose to do is to provide them with a new stair and elevator that will connect all the floors of the building from the Coda Street entrance, so that in fact it will be, one large college. There is a rear elevator that was kind of developed at a period when access to the upper floors for office space and commercial were somewhat different than this user will require or need. I mean, now that the college will really enter the building from the corner of Coda and Anacapa, I mean, most of this space on the ground floor of the building is developed as classroom facilities, student service offices, and a mezzanine that includes their library. In order to make them work with their academic center and classrooms, just to give everybody a little bit of idea where we all are. So there's a space, there's a library mezzanine that's in that same first floor area, and on the upper portion of the building there are these two pods that are on this level, administrative and staff offices, and some smaller classrooms that are kind of surrounded by terrace area. There are residential units that sit on top of those floors that are to remain. I would say some back of the house traffic will actually use this elevator, or people who are coming from the parking lot area where it's somewhat easier access, but in fact this larger outdoor area on the second floor is really for an urban campus, kind of like the student commons. So the truth is, for us to try to make a proposal that really rationally connects all those floors so that there's, some kind of cohesive student traffic and sense of the whole building as one, our proposal is actually to provide a new elevator shaft, which actually requires the removal of a piece of sloped roof that sits in this pocket, and the redefinition of the parapet wall, so that in fact we will take the existing parapet, which currently drops back to about where this elevator face is now, and move that parapet wall out towards the street. That will actually give us the elevator and a stair. I can back up a bit, which we can see on two different levels, into this main lobby of the space on the ground floor, a new stair that will wrap around that elevator and the elevator shaft, so that this can service all three levels of the building. We looked at a number of different places to do this, but in fact, because of the fact that there are structures above, elevator over travel is higher than, even to access the mezzanine floor, is higher than the deck level of the second floor. So in terms of trying to find an appropriate position for this piece of equipment, our proposal was to modify that facade, and in essence, just the piece of the building that we're talking about is in between the tower that exists on the corner and this part of the facade on Coda Street. We have some photos. There are some elements that we're kind of copying from another part of the building to mimic how a new elevator might pierce. But in fact, that is the proposed facade change, where that roof this parapet would move forward, it'd still drop back into this plane, and we would carry that wall up, and behind it by 4 or 5 feet is the tower, which sidles up next to the other tower. I mean, we proposed to add some architectural features to this, a little window to copy some of the grillage type detail that exists in other parts of the building, to try to unify this piece of the facade change back into what would look like the existing fabric of the building. I think there are some, just in terms of, where things poke up over other parts of the building. I mean, that would be the shaft of the elevator that would be abutting the side of the little tower as it could be seen from the terrace level. I mean, in terms of a viewpoint, I mean, there's some little perspective renderings of how we think that will work and how this component fits in within that facade drop back. And there are some photographs of the existing facade, and that is the piece that we're actually talking about in that setback that exists on Coda Street. I mean, we've done some walking around up and down the block to kind of figure out what it was you'd see. And, you know, in any event, I think the only people who actually get a look at this cavity are the people who actually have to park their car in the parking lot across the street from the bicycle shop. I mean, otherwise, almost the viewing angle from the intersection is too tight to really get a good look at it.
Okay.
But we do want it to still remain as a kind of contextual piece of the existing building.
Okay. Okay, is that the extent of the exterior work that you're doing?
That is the extent of the exterior work.
Okay, let's open it up for public comment. Seeing no one, anyone for public comment? We have no speaker slips. Seeing no one, we bring that back to the board for questions. And do you have any questions, Gary?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Chair. Is there any proposed landscape removal or addition of landscape? Well, there's a change. I mean, there currently is a large. You get the floor, first floor. It's a palm. Let's look at the photo. I'll have to go back. I'm not quite sure what to name this.
Or the photos at the very end here.
That landscaping.
So this will come out, and then
Yes.
you'll have some new landscaping to it.
There would be new landscaping.
Yeah.
We were proposing to
Where
put.
would you propose the new landscaping?
It's in the same location.
Yeah, and I noticed on the elevation there was a.
I mean, there's
a drawing with bougainvillea and stuff.
Right.
hanging.
Okay. Floor plan. Say next.
Go one more. So this pocket, is there a pocket of landscaping that's going to be removed right here from the existing? No. This is where the existing wall is. That landscaping is out here in the
On the boulevard, isn't it?
We're not moving the building out. The building is in that location. The wall actually comes up and then the roof is there. There's an existing plant that's right in front of that.
Same question. I think I understand the confusion. Figure of the plan. This is an arcade.
That's correct.
That goes that way, and this is an arcade that goes that way. So that line and that line shouldn't be there. So this, right here, is your landscape zone
You
that
are
exists
correct.
today. I walk by here this time. And this is the arcade.
Right,
that
there
goes
is no
like that.
dotted line there.
So that this shouldn't be there, and what you're looking at, the recess you're looking at, is right there.
That's correct.
I was trying to figure out the same thing. So
Stand correct.
So people come out here.
everybody's right. Nobody's wrong.
They come out here. They come out here and go around.
No. There will not be an exit at this point.
There's a door shown in there.
It is our intention to actually make it a dummy door, but we intend to reuse part of that door as for air intake on the bottom side.
So
No, the issue here is that.
just to clarify, looking at this here, where that arcade goes that way, and so people walk through this arcade right now, come to here, and then they walk around like that. Is that it?
They actually do, all of those arcades are grassed and planted. The side, they actually walk down the side.
Oh, walk down the side.
This
It's all
arcade
landscape.
was created for
It's all
shadow
landscape
effect.
underneath there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You can kind of see it.
Other questions? Oh, you had another question, Gary? Questions on this side?
I had a question. I'll refresh my memory here after we just did this exercise.
Do whichever page you want.
This will actually be helpful. So, the face of the wall, which is covered by this large bird of paradise or whatever is here, is basically here.
That's correct.
And then this roof goes back. So, essentially, the proposal is to bring this all the way up, and then this would come across as a parapet.
That's correct.
And that'll have
You're on the camera.
camera. Sorry. So this roof comes back, and there's going to be a new floor in here, and part of the exterior deck is going to happen behind that because it looks like the elevation of where the patio is, which is probably right around here. There's nothing there, so you're filling that in so you can do the elevator tower.
It's kind of like right here, I guess.
Right, like this is coming back as a roof coming back into there, so
Right.
that's all being filled in.
That is correct.
Okay. And then when this project, years ago, the tenant who was going to go in this area came to us with some ADA problems in this zone. Has that all been rectified? Do you know? They actually came through
issues on the ground floor?
They came through with an application to do an ADA ramp here to get into this door at one point, and then they obviously never did the work, but I don't know if they did the work,
They
to be
actually
honest with you.
sloped the
But
sidewalk on the Anacapa side up.
on this side?
So that you
that
can
work.
get to the corner.
So is there a step down or something on this side, or I can't remember. I'm trying to
There is on the Coda Street side.
on the Coda side. So that work was completed at some point.
At some point.
Okay, good. Thank you.
He walks by all the time.
Keith?
No questions.
Yeah. So the other comments I had, questions I had is that will we be able to have this perforated? I see it backs right up to the back of the wall, or at least that the holes are deep enough that they look like the others that we have on the building where they are perforated. This grill will.
Our intention is to make them deep enough, but not to actually have them perforated.
I see. Okay.
We're pretty close to roof structure. What's happening right behind this wall is actually the rise of a staircase that goes up to the next level.
Right.
We may be kind of close to the top. We may actually get to use part of those as actually perforated that are glazed from behind that we would hope might leak some light into that staircase. But at present, since I think we're so close to the thickness of the structure, it was really just meant to be relief.
Okay.
And therefore, is this window just for relief as well?
No, that window
Is
would
that
actually
servicing
be
the stair?
it would serve it would service the stair behind.
Okay, that's the only questions I had. Okay, so we bring it back to comments. Keith's ready. Go ahead, Keith.
I think given the overall scale of this building that, what's being proposed is reasonable and appropriate. My only comment is you might consider actually enlarging the tower at the upper level just so you can get some more cover at that elevator door there and maybe even enclose that. Just, I don't know what your experience has been, but my experience with outdoor elevators that just plop out on the roof is that they become a real maintenance problem with the equipment. So I would encourage that. But other than that, I think it's an appropriate addition.
Okay. Thanks. Clear?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. But, I would agree with what Keith said, and I think it doesn't really show up here so much, but this element for me seems a little too. It's almost like it wants to be a tower, wants to come up and have a little bit of a presence, and right now it seems a little diminutive, and a little too close, this roof element to that roof element seems to me to be a little too close, not that it's way off. And for me, I don't mind this, but this, and I know that, again, that you said in your presentation that nobody's really going to see this or notice it unless you're parking at the wheelhouse. But in the efforts of trying to infuse a little bit into this, it almost seems like the tower wants to read as an element, maybe all the way down to the ground, maybe not, and still maintain that. But I'm kind of struggling with this here.
Well, we were almost ready to bring another drawing.
Oh, you have one.
Well, I think that, as we kind of looked at this internally, we thought that if there were another existing element on the building that's similar, it's the kind of Moorish tower feature that exists on the other side of the building, and that this might really have been the appropriate component to attach there and to kind of mimic that piece on the other.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier when you were making your presentation.
Right.
And here's the elevation that I think I was talking about,
right,
where you've got this, and this kind of comes up proud of the ridge line, and it has a presence, and this really doesn't. And I don't know that it needs to be that high. I think that's probably too high for this area of the building, but this seems a little
too close a call.
Yeah, it's too close. And I think Keith's comment is if this got a little bit wider and you could provide shelter, somebody could stand underneath it and not have to worry about that, and protects the equipment. I think those are all good comments. But I think that could use a little bit of height and maybe a little bit of girth, a little weight. But other than that, I mean, everything else seems right on.
Gary? Yeah, it's. I would agree with the comments that we have. One thing that I would like to see, though, is I've been struggling with this building. It's come with a few things. Arch Rock came with some projects around the exterior of this, and we're dealing with a project with it earlier. We're going to put a bar in there or something. And landscaping has been an issue with this, and lack of landscaping. And we have been slowly eating up the tiniest bit of landscaping that it's had. And these are concerns of mine. And one thing that I would recommend on this particular project is if this is in fact is a dummy door, I really would like to see the dummy door go away and the concrete that's in front of it go away, and an addition of landscaping with a larger feature. I think this would be a great spot to have, especially if we're getting rid of this roofing element that actually added some breakup of the building. If we could add a larger palm tree in this area to give it a breakup or an illusion that there's some landscaping on the building. And I think that's a problem. I mean, the greenery that the Bird of Paradise gives to it is really good, but it's probably not going to work well for you. You want to get light in there to that stairwell and so forth, whereas the linearity of a palm tree with some palms up here gives us the illusion that there's some landscaping at the building. So I kind of feel like this area should be looked at to actually remove that door. And look to other areas. If I know that these are planted with grass and so forth, but maybe we can look to these areas to get something a little bit more height. It's just something that I think this building in this corner is severely lacking in is some type of greenscape that ties the building together and not make it look so much like it is, the Anaconda building that it is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
In line of those comments, I think it bears talking a little bit about the Arch Rock Fish proposal, because they've recently come through ABR with some proposals to redo. They're doing a patio and whatnot, and they're also doing a portion of the parkway, which is, if we look at a site plan, we have this really nice new ordinance that limits the height of any greenery in a parkway. This isn't really shown accurately, but there's a parkway that runs all the way down.
City parkway.
Yeah, yeah, but the city doesn't do anything to it. The applicants have to. And and there's another one on this side, and it's basically turf, which is now not allowed under ordinance. They're doing some work here and along here, and then they're also redoing the parkway up to, I think, about here. But I think it bears discussion to have something done along the parkway, either a continuum or it should be complementary at least, and something along here. And I agree with Gary's comments about these areas that it's sort of, it's landscaped, but it's sort of tired landscaping, and it could use some freshening up. And our landscape guy isn't here tonight, but he's been reviewing this as well, and I think that he would probably make the comment, so I'll make it for him, that we need to really look at the parkways and the landscaping on this site, because it's as Gary put it, it's pretty minimal at best.
Do you know if the landscaping for the proposal that Arch Rockfish is making was something that has already been looked at and approved?
It's been looked at and it's been approved.
Because, I mean, I would imagine that a continuum of that treatment.
Yeah, they're doing, the parkway is some diamondia and some other really low-growing
Shouldn't it be
planting.
consistent?
I would imagine that it would be consistent.
Yeah, I
since we
think
still think the building reads as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be good, and I think one of the nice things, my office is right here across Anacapa, so I think one of the nice things about this building, potentially with the new tenant being Antioch, is sort of ingesting new life into it.
Yes.
Arch Rock is doing a pretty good job, but really kind of completing the idea, I think, is a pretty valuable effort to take on. So.
Okay. I think there's hit all the comments at right on the head. First, I'd start with for me, the tower element. I agree with the others that the tower element right now in its seminal stage, its early stages, it's fairly weak up here, and I think that the consideration that the other members stated about trying to give it a little bit more substance, especially in this direction when you look at it. So I think we would look for you to come back with some sort of revision of that area. But essentially having the elevator there, I mean, I think it's working. It's going to work. It's just you have to do a little bit more design work in this area. I think the landscaping opportunity that we can have here by replacing the door and putting something else is a very, very good idea. And I think when I look at the building that we have now, that we've had to live with for a while, it really would love to have some sort of landscaping presence that makes a little stronger statement on the kind of scale that we have on these elevations. So that's also the other good one. The overall landscaping to match with the Arch Rockfish or something that is compatible with what they have would really be appreciated on the whole two street fronts. And then lastly, I would say that I would look very closely at that entry. The way you have it drawn there works very well. That entry, it's a step up and with the ramp and the doors swinging out. And I'm not so sure how much was actually done. I mean, Clay would probably know all the details as he passes that all the time. But I would look at that very closely to make sure that you have your handicap clearances and everything. Because if you have to come back to us with a revision of that, we would certainly see that as being an important element, the front of the whole. And we're really happy that the Antioch University is the beneficiary of this property being sold and being leased to you guys. I think it's about time we have somebody great in there that can make good use of the building. So that's it.
Amazingly, I think it's a very good marriage. I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing to look at the building as a single-user building and see how the architecture actually responds to this idea of a downtown campus.
Yep. Okay. So I think we're open for a motion, and that would be indefinite in continuance, or you want a specific time to come back?
Absolutely.
2-week. So this would be a 2-week continuance back to full board, and Keith is going to take it from here.
Take a shot at it, Mr. Chair.
Thanks.
So, as the Chair said, 2-week continuance back to full board. The following comments. The board feels that the proposed addition is appropriate mass, bulk, and scale for the existing structure. The board would encourage the applicant to study opportunities to integrate additional landscaping in the project, both on site and in the parkway, and in so doing coordinate the landscape design with the other tenants' landscape design. Study some architectural articulation of the elevator tower roof to distinguish it from the adjacent larger building tower, and consider providing additional cover at the top floor landing of the elevator.
Not the corner.
Inside, right?
Well, we can just say just.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Architects encouraged to make sure that the ADA needs are met at the corner entry.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that under discussion.
Okay, under discussion.
If it's okay with the first, I'd like to say that the applicant returned with a complete site plan with parkways and the ADA ramp and all this indicated on the drawing.
Thanks. I think it's good. Yeah. Agree. Okay. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair.
Sorry. Wait.
The question for staff. It says it requires a development plan approval findings. Do we need to make those?
No.
At some point, we're going to make those?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to wait
This is
until it
going to
comes
Planning
back.
Commission?
No, you'll make the DPA findings here at AVR.
Okay.
Okay. So all those in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
See
you
you in
very
2
much.
weeks. No problem. Great. I think, Tony, you don't need this one, or which one do you want?
Yeah, let me keep this one with our notes on it. But I don't
Okay, you could have this one back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know what happened. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, we have item number 5, 709 East Haley Street.
Nobody sitting in the back.
Rex Roscoff. I can see we have plenty of public comment on this one. Oh, they were waiting outside.
No, that's okay. My morals have no support.
Okay, you can take it away, Rex.
Okay.
Now goes the building.
Rex Roscoff, architect for Jaime and Robin Melgoza on this project. The first sheet's just a title sheet.
Yeah.
The second sheet is the combination site floor plan and the elevations. Took to heart some of the comments last night or last meeting, which were basically focused on this.
Just let me get that minutes. There's some minutes there, Tony? Okay, go ahead.
The covered parking structure that used to go
Yes.
along the back and the exposure to the neighborhood and everything, and I was asked to bring in photographs. So this is the project site, the dark roof there,
Thanks.
and the surrounding buildings. It's all pretty industrial. This looks like East Beach over here, but it's not. It's just a number of boats in their yard. This is the building immediately behind us, so it's that building, and this is taken from across Haley Street, so that's the building. This is the one we're remodeling. This building is just off the picture, but right there. Another shot of the building right behind us and some of their storage. And this is the city weight room park thing and what my client looks at, so bearing all that in mind when we look at how we're storing stuff.
Okay, that's over here. So
This is right here.
right here. Okay.
Yeah, just to the west.
Okay, so the minutes read the direction of the architecture for the front building is appropriate for the neighborhood. Restudy the design for the parking and storage facility. Provide screening of the back lot and storage area. Screening of the back lot. Provide a site plan showing all adjacent structures. Illustrate the height of the back building. Study saving the cedar tree or provide significant mitigation. Okay?
So what I've done is I've taken the parking from across the back and run it down the side so that you don't have that view corridor too. So you will have the same view corridor we have now. You'll see this building as you look down the driveway, the existing building adjacent to us. And then fully enclosed it, and there'll be a sliding gate to load the stuff up there.
I see.
Integrated to the building. We've slightly adjusted the architecture a little bit in that the owners want to go to the tiles that rake into the plaster and the no eaves on the end, so it'll all tie together. To somewhat mitigate the height of this storage structure as seen from the street, this small little shed roof I put over this restroom here to kind of take down that scale, so I kind of push the window up a little bit, push the roof up a little bit, and it leaves us less white space on that thing. This, however, is 50 feet from the sidewalk, so we're sitting way back behind the building. Other than that, everything is as it was before. We're going to replaster. We've got doors that will be stained. They have a plank look to them.
And this was sorry, I'll wait for questions.
That's the end of the presentation. As far as the mitigation of the cedar trees, it has to be gone. But we will come in with a full landscape plan that will be working in conjunction with our stormwater management too.
So, all right. So we just keep that one on the... Okay, so I'll bring it open to the board for questions. Keith? Oh, no. I took the wrong signal when you moved your hand.
No question. Mr.
Clay?
Chair, I have a real brief question. I'm trying to figure this out. Is this a residential property?
It's commercially zoned
Yeah,
and
I know
appears
that.
to be residentially used.
Residentially used. And this, what about this one that's off the one in between the two big buildings? Do we know?
This one continues on. This is a 100-foot deep lot, but I think this is 125. I do not know what the one is that fronts the...
There's the property line there. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's that lot.
Yeah.
And we think that, I know the zoning, but that's probably residential.
It appears to be, it looks residential.
Is this residential use too?
No, that's a park use. It's that weight
Oh, that's
boxing
that weight.
facility.
Sorry. Got it. Okay.
So this is commercial zoned?
Yes. I verified that with staff.
The zero lot line and that sort of
Yes.
stuff. Okay. Other questions? I'll ask some questions. You have no additional columns in here? that
Not at
out
this
to the
time. I'm
front?
showing a 2-foot deep beam out at the
You're
edge
going
there.
to span that distance?
We're not that far yet, but right now, yeah.
Okay, that's your... Okay. And this doesn't have any ventilation inside?
It has no roof. It has no ventilation. It's
Open to the sky?
It's open to the sky.
Okay.
We're just screening it from public view.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It'd be plaster block for the most part with a molding around the top to, which I think mimics one of the buildings that's adjacent to us or 2 lots over.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other questions? Okay, comments? Gary?
I like the new direction as opposed to the 2 stilted walls and stacking the with the door. I think that's a positive move. I don't know if I'm still convinced about the tree because I really see that this front entry could have been reversed and the tree be saved. And the tree's such a big tree that I really think it's a nice feature of Haley Street. So I'm kind of on the fence where I think that tree can be saved. Another comment I would make, is simple comment, is the trash enclosure that's butt up right up against the sidewalk. I'd like to see that brought back just a little bit farther so there's landscaping in front of that wall of the trash enclosure, and show that there's actually concrete going in front of the trash enclosure like there would be, not really landscaping.
You're right.
That would be it.
Okay. Comments? Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just while we're on the trash enclosure, is that existing or?
That's proposed.
Okay.
It's office use, so we're going to have a recycle bin and a trash bin. And
Might be nice to kind of slide that back in line with the building so we can get some landscape in front of there. I guess the rotation is a good move, although we're still looking down at that blank wall behind you, but that's not your issue. Still kind of struggling with the mass and integration of the storage portion with the front. Not quite sure how you deal with it, but a few things. The way this arch kind of runs into the back of the house is a little awkward if that could slide over, and I just don't know what the answer is there with the big slot opening.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any room to sneak any columns or anything there because of your parking spacing, right?
yeah, I'm pretty tight on the parking spacing. I can't really do that. I could look at moving that over. I might have to eliminate it completely and just come straight across because of clearances with that door.
Oh, I see. Boy.
It's tight.
Yeah, I'm just still kind of concerned about this west elevation of the parking storage. So I'm not sure what the answer is there, but it just seems like it needs something, more articulation.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. Clay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the move, turning this thing 90 degrees, I think is a good move. However, it poses some new problems, and I think one of them happens to be the west elevation, but it's kind of tucked back in the site, and you're really not going to. The people working out are going to be looking at that all day long. I think Keith pointed out the arch, and my other comment would be the thickness of the wall supporting that leg right there on the left edge of that elevation. The other problem that I see is this 18-foot blank wall facing the residential neighbor. And I'm not sure what the answer is. If there's some sort of articulation that we can do along that facade on the upper floor that might not be so imposing to that neighbor. It looks like you're probably pretty tight on the lot width, so you're not going to be able to pull that off the property line. And I think this shed roof that you did here is sort of a nod to trying to break down that mass. But it almost seems like it needs to go a little bit further. But I'm not too sure about how high this really needs to be, too. I mean, we've got 9 feet in there. I don't know if we could drop a foot or just to reduce that mass. But my biggest concern so far at this point is really the east elevation facing the residential neighbor, and sort of what the people working out at the center next door are going to be looking at this, probably looking at a bunch of trucks and a bunch of scaffolding more than looking at the building. But I think I think the turning of it was a good move. I think the comments about the trash enclosure are good. We're still not seeing any sort of mitigation for removing the pine. If that's the plan, then we probably need to see some nice trees, and that might actually, if something ended up back here, might help break down the mass even more. So I think there's some more development that needs to happen. But those are my comments.
Thanks a lot, Clay. I think the comments that everyone's made are really good. First off, I'll just follow on Clay there with the landscaping. I really think because we're losing the tree, or your proposal says we're losing the tree, is that it's really important for us to see with your landscaping what you're going to propose to make that significant change or the mitigation. And I think I think what you're doing is fine. I just feel that if we go down one road to say that everything is okay, and then we don't see the mitigation, and it gets watered down. So if you could really work on that to come back with that, that would really be good. The other is initially, the way that you switch it, we still have the big building in the back to look at, and then we have these two blank walls to look at. And at first when I look at it, and then I hear Keith's comment, and I look at that and I think it still needs work, that there's a problem with that too. So, and then I think of what might be one of the solutions, and this is just an a comment that just popped into my mind that you might want to consider, is that because of the back wall, we have that wall already, put it back where it was. Right? I mean, this is just a thought, right? And here is my idea behind it, is that you end up with two smaller walls on each side. You get a bigger void here. Not that it would work, okay? I'm just throwing this out. And the whole front that you have here, you come up with a system of these huge rolling doors that you have to open to service, to put stuff in. And the doors themselves become the architecture. So you have like a blank wall, and then you have a huge door that is full height, and really wide. And when they close and open, they make this pattern on the wall.
All up at this level.
All up at that level. And they could be like, vertical, finished in vertical slats of wood or something like that have it throws a shadow when the sun falls on it. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Maybe.
Okay. So maybe that's not why, but I'm just suggesting that, and I'm saying that.
But just to be clear, when you look down the driveway, you're still going to see this big opening, because I still got to park 4 cars, unless you want to grant me relief on the parking requirement.
No, you'll still see the opening, but you're going to see cars in it anyway. You're going to see cars in it anyway. I guess my big thing is to try and minimize the amount of second-story big flat wall that's in the neighborhood. So that's the only thing I was kind of looking at. So it's just an idea. I'm not saying that you should take that route. I'm not saying you should take that route, but I do think, along with Keith here, that this needs work. And then I do think, along with both of them, that I think that this is a little unfortunate, and if we can help it do anything, it would be a plus. So while I say that to you, I didn't want to just throw it out there, because I said, well, how would he try to solve this if we asked him to change it? And that was the only thought that came to my mind. So,
no, I totally understand what the board's saying. I don't know that the board's looking at, the idea that this could happen. This could be a good storage facility, and I don't know that the board's taking into account what the heck my client has to look at. I mean, I've got right next door at that weight room, which is a city property, something that looks like a backyard in Taft, and you look through that, and over there on the photo where all the boats are, there's a high bay rack storage that's got the blue tarps hanging off of it for somebody storing building materials in there. So I'm taking the storage to the next level, and I'm getting hammered. In other words, take a look at the neighborhood and go, this is a step up in the neighborhood, and if everybody else came up even close to screening it well, we'd all be better off. But what I'm getting instead is, the width of the wall and the shape of the arch and everything, try flipping it the other way. So I'm getting a little whipsawing the other way. And then in regards to the tree, the tree's gone. It's going to be gone because the the footprint, even if I flipped it, the footprint would
Okay.
eat up the drip line.
Yeah.
I'm totally for mitigating it with additional trees, and I'll bring you a fully landscaped plan for your approval.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that will get mitigated out. But I'm really just looking for a good solution for these two. And, you know, I'm not saying to do it one way or the other, but I am saying that that second story storage with walls all the way around, it seems like there might be a better way to do it, and the elevations that are presented to us right now looks like they could do it a little bit more work.
Okay.
You know?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Just go down that road a little bit. This was the previous scheme with the parking going the other way, and we had a little more distance here, it seems like, than in this direction. And you had some additional wall if you took this layout and split it 2 spaces and 2 spaces, so, and kind of slid it over so you could get a little return here and a little something mid-span. That would at least break up the big horizontal opening. And then if you kind of went down the road that Chris was talking about, as far as kind of maybe have 2 doors up there or something, so that you get a little more breakup, I think then you're covering up the blank wall that's already here at your neighbor, and as Chris said, you are minimizing the sidewalls. So anyway, I think that shows more potential to break up this big horizontal opening and make it palatable.
I had a question too. This is for scaffolding storage. How much higher are you making it? I mean, scaffold.
High enough to hide the scaffold.
So is it 5 feet or is it 6 feet or is it 8 feet? Because the scaffold height is about 6 feet.
It's a little more than 6 because you can
They're
walk
stacked.
clearly under it, and you have the.
They're stacked.
zip
Almost
drop.
8 feet.
They're stacked. I'm
vertical.
talking about. I know.
Yeah.
Talking about when you build a scaffold, they're about 5 feet tall. You stack another one on top of it. They have a pin.
I'll
so
look
look at
into
the height of that, because if it
comes down.
if it comes down a little bit, it might be a little more attractive.
Keith, I do like that. I can do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
in all fairness to the applicant, I mean, we're trying not to take you down a bunch of different roads here. I think you came with us with that scheme originally, and then we gave you comments, and you came back with this totally different scheme. So I think it's fair to say that we're getting a different look at this and evaluating the two. Because I don't think we ever said go turn the thing 90 degrees. So
No, you never did. I was
So
just
I
looking
think-
at, how can I hide it behind the building?
Yeah, and
the best
look,
way is to get,
and I
you're
think-
not looking at cars, and I'm looking at the building that's already there, and what am I supposed to do with that?
Right. And I think the direction from the board is maybe the original scheme you came with was appropriate, the way you originally conceived it, and that trying to break up the long opening on the ground floor and doing something with the doors above will be supportable. I think we're supporting what you're doing. I just want you to hear from me, because I don't want to come across like I'm trying to mess with what you're providing. So I think the board's kind of thinking that looking down that driveway and seeing that big white building rather than seeing your building is better, and let's just work out the details.
Okay.
The landscape.
I think this is a strong comment. I could easily come back in 2 weeks with that.
Yeah, I agree. Clay, I think something in that direction and taking rolling Chris's comments in that would be supportable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. All right. 2 weeks of continuance. So we're open to a motion.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Keith.
Okay, so 2-week continuance back to full board with the following comments. Study setting the trash enclosure back from the back sidewalk. The board looks forward to site landscape plan and the applicant's proposals to mitigate the loss of the tree. The board appreciates the applicant's willingness to look at completely different site scenarios, but after reviewing that, the applicant's encouraged to go back to the original scheme and concentrate on breaking up the large horizontal opening of the parking bays and suggests using the access to the storage area doors as the architectural articulation of the facade facing the street.
A second?
I'll second it. Under
Second
discussion.
by Gary. Under discussion.
Just to come back with elevations on the, with dimensions on the elevations.
They're not on over here, but
Fine.
somebody should throw in a comment about investigating the height of the scaffolding to maybe bring the building height down.
Yeah, investigate that, yeah.
Just so one of us remembers to look at it.
Okay, good idea. So, we'll add that. So the final comment then is to study minimizing the height required for the storage area to conceal the contents.
Okay, and under discussion, if there's one thing I could ask the applicant to do is, when you show the south elevation, if you could just dash in the wall of the building behind, just so that we could get a picture of this in front of the big wall.
Okay.
It just gives us a kind of proportional kind of thing, view.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the last, is that all right?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries.
Can I
Thanks
steal
very
this
much.
one and you guys keep that one?
Yeah.
No, this one.
No.
And with that motion, that brings us to the end of our agenda for the evening. Good night, Santa Barbara.